So one-hit wonders from the 80s, right?
Was Missing Persons a one-hit wonder?
I think that was a hit, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. But I'm just, sometimes you can have, another one like, Flock of Seagulls is not a one-hit wonder, right? I mean, Missing Persons band. Let's see here.
See what's the haps.
All right, well, let's see. Words and Destination Unknown both hit the Hot 100. Neither went to the top 40. I figured Words would have been a top 40 song, but it peaked out at number 42. So didn't get the Casey Kasem treatment there.
Oh, man. Keep reaching for the stars. That's what the Broncos are doing every day out at training camp. And we are a week in. Yeah, some segues are better than others. We're a week in, and it's a debate, Mace. Did Bo Nix have his best day today? I say yes, you say no. Let's talk about it.
Okay. I actually think he did have his best day.
Okay.
I do, but
you went back to the notebook.
I went back to the notebook, but I also said it was his best day. It wasn't a great day. Like, I think you see there's some out there that are like, oh, just kind of give him the job right now. We're not there yet. He needs to stack days. There were some less than optimal decisions on third downs. I mean, let's just say there were some check downs that maybe didn't have to be check downs on third downs during the course of the day. The other thing, it's also interesting that when Sean Payton was first asked about Bo Nix's day, he very quickly pivoted to Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds had a great day at wide receiver.
Yes, and perhaps that's why, for me, I know I'm not basing it just off one play, and we can talk about third downs for sure. But when you run a route that gets open on Pat Surtain and Bo Nix hits him, we've talked about it on the show. Reynolds is getting open against Surtain, and Jarrett Stidham won't throw it. Josh Reynolds got open against Surtain, and Bo Nix had no problem throwing it, Mace. And I love that boldness from that young man. Now the question remains, is he cognizant that it is Pat Surtain on him, or is he just finding the open guy? Because I kind of like if he's just finding the open guy, man.
I think he's finding the open guy. I think that's
good. That's really good.
See opening, throw to opening, and it doesn't particularly matter who it's against, and probably more importantly, it doesn't matter who he's throwing to. So if that's the case, then get ready if Bo Nix is the quarterback for maybe a different Bronco leading the team in receptions and receiving yards. Like every 4 weeks, it's 4 different guys. Like, it's Javonte Williams one game, it's Josh Reynolds another game, it's Courtland Sutton another game, it's Greg Dulcich or Lucas Krull or Marvin Mims Jr. another game. Like if that's what it's going to be, if it's just hitting the open man, then it ends up it'll be hard to defend this team because you won't be able to key on one person. Now,
right.
This also may help ease the lack of an alpha wide receiver one in there. Like you've got now, Courtland Sutton obviously has the big contract, but the production has not been wide receiver one level. Maybe this ends up being a situation where you've got 3 wide receivers who have about 600 to 800 yards this year. I think you'd feel pretty good about that if that's how it worked.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with that because it's spreading the ball around, and we've seen it, Mace. I'm writing about it at denversports.com. You've got your daily practice report. I'm writing up the group of targets. It's like, man alive, you've got some tough choices because Reynolds is emerging, and I've heard, I think it was Stokely that had the plan of like, oh, it's going to be Marvin Mims and Courtland Sutton. Josh Reynolds is being too good.
Well, let's play the clip from Sean Payton today where he talks about the vision for Josh Reynolds being somebody who works on the outside.
Yeah, he's long, he's smart. And so there's some versatility. I see him as an outside-in player, more outside than in. But his length, well, you saw it. I mean, his catch radius is just bigger.
Okay. So Josh Reynolds outside, Courtland Sutton outside. That leads you to Marvin Mims Jr. as an inside guy in the slot. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. You can be productive from there.
Sure.
But if you're talking about who's going to get the most opportunities, who's going to get the most snaps, because you're going to be a run-first offense, which means you're going to see plenty of 2 tight end sets, that would tell me that Josh Reynolds plays more than Marvin Mims Jr. On balance. And oh, by the way, another thing they like about Josh Reynolds is despite his very willowy body type, he blocks well. Blocks well on the outside.
Yep. Yeah, there was the one play you and I commented he needed to block better. Was that a Michael Bandy screen, right?
Yes.
And it's like Reynolds,
he's got, but that's it's weird. I think he's better blocking outside on the run than on the bubble screen.
Yes.
Now that being said, maybe you just tell him, okay, you just gotta. There's that play. I mean, you know that we were talking about the same play, and it's like if he could have just held that for just about 3 or 4 tenths of a second longer, Bandy's got a little more space to make a play.
Right. And that's why I love when pads come on, Mace, because we can see that type of stuff. We can see pass pro for Jaleel McLaughlin. We can see blocking ability for your tight ends like Lucas Kroll. I think there's a significant conversation here because it's going to be the guys blocking for the run game because they're going to run the hell out of the ball.
Yeah. Lucas Kroll had an interesting day because there was one time when he stayed in pass pro and he was working as Jonah Ellis, and pretty clearly it was a hold, even though they don't have referees on hand. But I mean, Lucas has got he's kind of got the arm bar thing going on up here. If any referee who's paying even moderate attention should call that a hold. But then you saw some pretty devastating work from him on the positive side in the run blocking game today too.
Mm-hmm.
Like by the way, this is the last 2 days as the offense has kind of found its form. Lucas Kroll has been part and parcel of a huge run. His block has been a primary force in springing that run. So, I mean, this leads to questions. I mean, is it possible that we talk about like Lucas Kroll and Greg Dulcich and how, okay, Kroll's got more every down ability because of the blocking thing. But if Kroll is a capable blocker and let's say he's a better pass catcher, a more dynamic pass catcher than Adam Troutman, does he take some snaps from Troutman potentially?
Perhaps. Do you see Kroll and Dulcich on the field at the same time?
Maybe. Now that's interesting because then in that case, Kroll is in line and then Dulcich is operating in space. When I asked Sean Payton about Greg Dulcich's blocking, I mean, it was one of those answers that basically is like, well, we can work around this, right?
He honestly said a little Jimmy Graham. Too much.
Yeah, he did. Because he talked about Jimmy Graham and in New Orleans. And we all know what kind of blocker Jimmy Graham was, which was to say non-existent at time.
Yeah.
I mean, incredibly dynamic pass catcher, the former basketball player at the University of Miami. But as far as blocking went, it wasn't his forte. But hey, don't try to jam a square peg into a round hole. Don't try to make Greg Dulcich a guy who's in line. Now, they've given him some snaps as an inline blocker at tight end, and it hasn't gone well when he's been asked to do that. And that's why I asked Sean Payton about it because there have been some plays when Dulcich is working as a tight end in line next to the tackle that it's devolved from him struggling to make that block.
Right.
So fine. He's a plus player getting downfield and getting into space, and he made some plays today. So don't ask him to do what he is not equipped to do and focus on what he can.
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever because he can be a weapon and he can help out his quarterback, whether that's Bo Nix or Jarrett Stidham. Coach did talk about Bo's day. Let's hear from Coach Payton talking about what he thought of Bo Nix today.
Look, I thought overall, I'm sure there's going to be some plays we look at it was mostly third down. A lot of the work was third down, but yeah, I mean, we'll see the tape and and evaluate it. But I thought overall pretty well. I mean, you know, there are plays where you're going to look at and correct, and then there's others where you're going to say, hey, but I do have to watch the film because I'm looking at so much. And he ran with the ones, and I like his progress.
And this is one of those instances where we probably had a better idea right after practice than Sean Payton did, because you and I were up in the media tent on the top, on the concourse there, the plaza level of where the fans sit, and Sean Payton's on the field. Yep. And when you're at field level, you're just not going to see as much as you can once you watch the film. I mean, the thing I would like to go back and look at, if I could review anything, I'd like to review in the first third down period he had, and that's where he had a couple of completions that were short of the sticks.
Yes.
Like that's one where you're like, okay, you know, was there another option? And this is also where I'd like to see him use his legs. Okay. When all you have, I think there was one play on in that series when, gosh, who was he looking for? You know what? I'm going to cheat. I'm going to look at my notes here.
That's fine. That's what we got it for. I would counter with this a couple of things. One, did they tell him not to run? And then two, a lot of the times on third down, and it sounds maybe wrong-headed to some, Mace, but coaches will tell you, take the short, and it's on the player to break the tackle.
Yeah.
Because there were throws short of the sticks for all three quarterbacks.
Yeah, so a couple of them, like one was to, looks like it was Lil Jordan Humphrey, and then one was to Samaje Perine. Remember, Perine was that one that was near the sideline. And actually on one of those... That was
way late throw.
Yes, yeah. That's one where they're going to want to get him to make the commitment a little more quickly than that.
Is that the one you think he should have ran? Because he almost did. He was like, he's going to run, he's going to run.
He thought about it. He thought of it. He can, you know what? I mean, I don't want him to become overly reliant on his legs, but trust his legs. They can get him from A to B pretty quickly. Would not at all shock me if, let's say Bo Nix starts at least 12 games this year, Cease. Would not at all shock me is if at the end of the season, if he played that many games, you look down and you took out the kneel downs and you're like, wow, he averaged 6 yards a carry. I think that's legitimately possible for him, the way he can move. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If he had, let's say, 3 rushing touchdowns on the year in 12 starts, I don't think that would be outlandish either. It's 11 on 11 football when you have a quarterback that can run. And on that play to Perine, I honestly was surprised it was complete because the throw was so late. It was like, he's going to run. And then he just like flipped it to Perine, who did catch it.
Yeah, did catch it, but he was short of the sticks. It was 3rd and 6. He picked up about 3 yards. The other one to Lil Jordan, that was like a 3rd and 5, and he got stopped 1 yard short of the line of the game. That's one where you may look at it and say, okay, you're hoping he could have gotten it past the sticks, right? Mm-hmm. That's so. If I'm being harsh critic, that's where some of my downgrade is, and why I'm maybe not. Over the moon. Oh, awesome day! Awesome. Bo Nix, give him the job. I'm not there yet. We're
not grading them day by day.
No, I'm glad we're not, because also this comes on the heels of a day for Bo Nix on Monday with the first team. Even though practice was about 55 minutes shorter that day, that wasn't a great day for Bo Nix. So it's this so far. I think we've. We can look at his days now with the first team, last Thursday without pads acclimation period, Monday and Wednesday, and say, probably one shaky day, one middle of the road day, and one day that was pretty good.
Yeah, and one thing we can take away, Mace, from watching everything is that Bo Nix will bounce back. He'll have rough plays. He'll have rough days.
Yeah,
but it doesn't linger. There's your Cranberries reference.
Oh gosh!
And he bounces back. I like it.
Well, he bounced back as a college player. He bounced back from a rough go at Auburn. He bounced back from a rough start to his time at Oregon. Why wouldn't he bounce back here?
Yeah, mm-hmm.
He has a history.
It's who he is. Yes. It's who he is. It's what he does, and I think that should give Broncos fans some confidence out there. Wouldn't mind seeing some more Bo Nix jerseys.
Well,
Just saying.
okay. We were talking about this on the hillside, so I'll share the conversation that you and I were having. We talked about it in relation to, I didn't say relative to like Sean Payton, I said in relation to jerseys of the throwback design going on sale at training camp Saturday. That's going to be the big day. I wonder if we'll see a bunch of Bo Nix jerseys sold then that are the throwback look. I'm very curious, Cease, to see how the mix is for jersey sales over the next couple of years between the modern template and the throwback template. Because, for example, we saw with the New York Jets, eventually it became apparent that the people's choice there was throwback. And so what are they doing this year? They're wearing the look straight out of 1978 to 89, with the exception of they have green pants with it. Back then they only had the white pants with either the green jerseys or the white jerseys. But they're back to that template. And so I do wonder if you look around the stands and it starts Saturday when they start selling those throwbacks. But if you look around the stands a couple of years from now and you see more of the throwbacks than the modern template, I wonder if that's going to be something that gets noted. Because I think it'll be interesting to see how that goes with how ownership views it. Because one thing that you and I know is that this ownership is attuned to everything. It's not, they don't have rabbit ears up in a negative way. They're
Right.
just taking in a lot of data and taking in a lot of input.
Mhm.
And so that'll be interesting. It may be worth it at a game, say by mid-season, to look around and see, because it'll be obvious which jerseys were bought this year. It will be, because if you see an orange jersey with the lighter blue trim and it's got Surtain on it or Nix on it or Williams on it or Zach Allen or whoever from the current team, then you'll know it was bought this year, just like you'll know that the modern template that was introduced in April was bought this year.
Right.
So it might be worth one day just sitting there, walking around the parking lot before, say, the Panthers game or something like that, and saying, okay, who's wearing what? How many throwbacks are we seeing? How many new ones are we seeing?
Yeah. New chapter for the Denver Broncos.
The market of Broncos country, I think, will decide what has the most appeal and what doesn't. I mean, and I say this as somebody who likes the new jerseys.
I like them too.
They're a lot cleaner than the last. They're a lot cleaner. They're a lot sleeker and streamlined than what they've worn for the previous 27 years.
Really cool minor details too.
Yes, I think. I mean, the only thing I'd change is the stripe on the pants. Once someone said it looks like the stripes look like a toothbrush, I can't unsee that now. So I see players like on the side and I see the pants. I'm like, oh my gosh. I almost knocked the mic down.
As you knock your mic over, you're like, well, maybe. No.
Show those crest smiles. Howie frickin' day. Bo is getting better with each practice. Well, I'd say it's not a straight incline where it's like this. Again, I thought his Monday practice was not as good as the one he had in his previous day running the first team, which was last Thursday. Also, I think there's definitely, and this is one reason why you're moving the quarterbacks around, I think there's definitely an impact to what unit you're on. And I think Jarrett Stidham kind of felt it being on the third team today.
Sure.
Exacerbated by the fact that you had the Quinn Bailey injury, or that horrible injury this morning. I saw him taken straight to the ambulance.
Yeah.
And then you had to adjust the offensive line. Alex Palczewski, a tackle by trade, is working at right guard. there were some issues up front with the number threes that left him, especially that final period, those final 4 snaps that he had, third down period. He was running for his life. And also worth noting, he had a pass knocked down. He had 2 passes knocked down in the last period on Tuesday. He had a pass knocked down today by Elijah Garcia there in the final period.
Yep.
So now some of that is good defense, but when you start seeing it over and over again, it's a pattern about which it's fair to have some concern.
We're looking for trends. Coach did talk
Yes.
about the Quinn Bailey injury, which I think you and I heard. I thought it was a crack of a pad, and I think it was the crack of his leg. It reminds me of O'Brien Schofield when we were at the Senior Bowl, and I was on the 10-yard line, almost right in front of where it happened, and you heard this like a home run, like a wooden bat, like crack, and it was O'Brien Schofield breaking his femur, I believe.
Yeah,
so an ankle injury today.
I remember something similar. Old CU basketball fans will remember a player from the 1990s named Donnie Boyce, and I was covering the Big 8 tournament. That tells you how long ago it was.
Big 8, yeah.
Yes, and it was. That was the sound, and it was just. It never fails to. It never fails to shake you.
Yeah.
And the set, like there are a lot of layers to this that are really sad. First of all, for Quinn Bailey is a good dude. He's been around the last few years. That kind of utility glue guy, depth guy that every team has, that every team needs.
You're better with him.
Yes, he literally can play 5 spots on the offensive line if you need. That's got value. Think about it. I mean, he's been here since 2020, so he is on his third. How many different play callers? You go Shermer, Hackett, Kubiak, Outen. I mean, he's on 5 play. He's been around through 5 play callers.
Wow.
He's been a survivor in this league. When you're a backup, you're kind of a fringe player on the 53 player roster, and you have an injury like this. It's going to be a long road back, and you wonder if there's going to be a roster spot waiting for him when he comes back. Unfortunately, these types of things are career altering at minimum, and that's kind of that's what goes through your mind when you think about it. Just your heart breaks for him.
Yeah. So Coach talked about Quinn Bailey after practice, almost right at the start. Here's what Coach Payton had to say.
I'm not sure of the timeline relative to surgery, but that's always tough to see and to be a part of when you're at a practice, and it's one of the sometimes the bitter realities of our game. So he was having a real good camp.
Yeah, fractured ankle. They had the air cast on immediately and took him straight to the ambulance. It's been a long time at training camp since we've seen a player go straight to the ambulance and not to. I mean, you like an ACL. Like I think like Tim Patrick, ACL 2 years ago, Achilles last year. In both cases, he went back to the training room.
Yeah.
But when you've got a bone fracture like that, it's like it's different and more severe, certainly immediately. Basically, you're looking at least an 8-month time frame on recovery. So I know they're not officially saying it, but for all practical purposes, Quinn Bailey's season is over before it began, and it's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. Before we're out of here, a couple of more notes, but David SLC says, do you guys see Bo getting more comfortable? Here's how I would answer that, Mace. He's always been comfortable.
He doesn't appear phased at all.
No.
Like okay. I'll give you a comparison here. Do you remember watching Brandon Allen for his starts back in 2019?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when the rush came in and he was taking off, watching him, you could see the discomfort. Like I used to say, like, boy, there was one shot I saw of him. I'm like, oh my God, his eyes are as big as dinner plates right now.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen with Bo Nix. I haven't seen that yet. Doesn't mean it may not happen in a game, but they're throwing a lot of looks at him. They're throwing a lot of blitzes at him, and he's not showing any signs of being uncomfortable. And the other thing that I like about Bo is, and it's most evident 7-on-7, how quickly he gets through his progressions. Like, he gets to the check down so fast in 7-on-7 because he's going fast. Like, he is that supercomputer comes into play when you see him kind of processing option. It's why the play to P. Ryan there, I mean, it was a surprise, and it's something that they'll work on with him. But it just shows you it's not perfect. I mean, we talked about the supercomputer. I just referenced that earlier in this thought. He's human. He's going to make mistakes. It's not always going to be perfect. So I'm sorry I made the comment about, do I have product in my hair today? I have a little bit
your hair is usually it's my hair that gets the comments. Your hair is on point today. Everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone's commenting on it.
You like the hair today, huh?
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Okay. All right.
I'm not the one who has to like it though, Mace. That's your call, right?
Okay.
I was talking to our dear friend
I
BK.
like it today too.
I was kind of mean to BK, and then I felt bad because BK is a good man.
Well, he's very special.
He is very special. But he was like, "You're so old, Cecil." I was like, "I look younger than you, dude." And he goes, "It's the hair." I'm like, "It's always the hair, Mace."
Bless BK, but he has no filter.
Yeah, that's what makes him special, right?
It's funny. Like, it just what you see is what you get. Just, that's BK, but he is a good dude. There's no doubt about that. Ralph asking, how is the center position shaping up? Well, we are in the midst of a competition because after Luke Wattenberg got all those days of work with the first team,
right?
4 days last week, 1 day on Monday. Alex Forsyth yesterday, Sam Mustipher today.
Why is it changing now?
Okay, I have a theory.
Give me your theory, because are they not happy with Wattenberg? I was pretty happy with Wattenberg, but
they started the rotation when the pads went on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here, yeah. Because I've been thinking about rotations with this team, because we're obviously talking about with quarterback a lot. Wouldn't it be hilarious if they gave Zach Wilson the first team reps tomorrow when they likely go back to shells?
Spider shells.
Full pads.
Spider Coach shells. Said that. Spider shells. I would actually be pissed if I was Zach Wilson. You don't give me any days in pads in the first team, and now I'm the first team when it's a walkthrough.
Wouldn't that be so? Well, it won't be a walkthrough. It's going to be
glorified walkthrough.
No, it's going to be like Friday. It's going to be the practices last Friday and Saturday. Like, now that we've seen full pads, it may feel like a walkthrough.
Yeah,
but it'll be like those first practices of camp.
I would be mad if I was Zach Wilson, though. You can't give me a day in pads.
Would you not be surprised if that's what happened?
Because Zach Wilson, that happens.
Zach Wilson went because he climbed the ladder today. He went from the 3s to the 2s. So they went back to the roundabout rotation where you're the 1 day and you're the 3 next day. So Jarrett Stidham, first team on Tuesday, second or third team today. Zach Wilson went from the 3 to the 2. I mean, we're kind of joking about it, like, oh, yeah, they're watching this show, like Sean's watching this show or reading it, like, oh, Mace thinks Zach Wilson's with the third team every day. Well, we're going to throw something different.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it's fun. It's biggest surprise so far in camp. Ooh.
Based on what we saw in mandatory minicamp, I would say, and maybe it's just the other backs raising their levels and Estime being out there, but Samaje hasn't looked as good as he did in mandatory. Not necessarily maybe a surprise, but that's something, like if we just say what was happening in June and now what's happening in August, basically, Samaje's not looking as good.
Samaje is RB4 right now.
Yep.
And Blake Watson's still not out there. Blake Watson being on the NFI list, but which is like PUP, except it's an injury that you have kind of away from team organized training. So Blake Watson on the NFI if I were the Broncos, I would slow play him back. I would do what appears to be happening with Drew Sanders and Delarian Turner-Yell. I'd be surprised if we see Sanders or Turner-Yell practicing at any point this summer.
Mm-hmm.
So then you put them on the PUP list, which means you don't and NFI would be the same thing here. You don't expose them to waivers. Now that means you are without them at least the first 4 weeks, and then you have kind of a ramp up period. You can decide whether to activate them or not. But I wouldn't. You know what, Blake Watson, he's somebody even if his injury says okay, be back tomorrow, I'd consider a little manipulation here, a little roster manipulation.
Sure.
And say, okay, NFI, after week 4, we ramp them up and get ready. Look, you got through last year somehow with all your running backs relatively healthy. Javonte missed, 1 game there early in the season. That was it. I think the chances of going through this coming season and having your 3 running backs miss a combined 1 game are pretty slim. It's just the nature of the position. So to me, it'd be pretty nice to have Blake Watson there in your back pocket to ramp up and move in and move on to the roster in October or November if you need him.
Tommy boy, it's a meat lover's pizza in the trunk. Don't get the chicken wings. That's fine.
Or it's the Chinese TV dinner behind your wheel.
Right.
Shout out Chris Thomason.
Oh yes. That's a special Chris Thomason story.
Yes, like had a meal by the wheel in his car in the winter at the airport parking garage because it's cold. It's basically an open air freezer, right? Because it's like 25 high of 25 degrees. It's basic. The air is a freezer. You just have your food right there waiting for you.
Yeah. Food right there waiting for you.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, he's actually head out to go cover the Pro Football Hall of Fame this weekend. So
there you go. Hall of Fame game coming up tomorrow night. And tomorrow, spider shells. We'll be talking about it.
Spider shells. Do whatever spider shells do.
Can.
Yeah. Spider
we started
pig.
The show.
Well, now I'm on the Simpsons version. Spider pig does whatever a spider pig does. Can he swing from a web? No, he can't. He's a pig. Look out. He is a spider pig. And now you get a glimpse into what things are like for my daughter and I when we're hanging out.
It's a good hangout time. That's for sure. Always good hanging out with you folks. But we need some help on YouTube, Mace. How do folks help us out?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never
miss a vid. That's right. He's Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's a BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty?
Woo.